had a nice meeting with the inspector. Looks like I am good to go, he is good to go to call for the first electrical inspection. So that'll happen on Thursday, and then hopefully I can get power pulled to the meter and have power out here. So today I had a meeting here with the inspector, like I said, this morning, and then I ran to Menards for a few hours to pick up some foam insulation board that I needed, and then some other miscellaneous things that I thought of that I needed. The foam board was already paid for, but the other miscellaneous items came out to about $700, so I think of a lot of things. I'm going to be putting foam board on these concrete walls. So in the master bedroom, the nursery, mechanical room, and the dining room, this back wall, I'm going to glue 1.5" foam board against the wall. I'm gonna seal the bottom edge of that and any holes or whatever, or cracks, with spray foam, and then tape the seams. And then here in the bathroom, where I've already framed up the back wall, I'm going to use 2-inch styrofoam between the studs. I'm gonna seal the perimeter of each piece of styrofoam with a bead of spray foam from a can. So just working on that because I want to get these back walls framed up, kind of get closer to finalizing the framing. Then we can put outlets as needed in the back wall, and kind of get some of the stacks of lumber moved out of the way. So that's what I'm working on right now. And then later on, my brother's gonna come here and we're gonna start working on putting outlet boxes and light fixture boxes where Becca tells us to for the lighting. This is the insulation board that I picked up from Menards. A few pieces started to wiggle free, but it's here, 40 pieces. I'm only using 15 or 16, 17 of the pieces today. The rest of the 1.5" material is going to go up on the ceiling in the great room. So I'm gonna have a continuous insulation on the ceiling, and then a couple bats of fiberglass insulation up there as well. Alright, so I'm gonna use a saw to cut it. Foam board adhesive. It's important to use specific materials because other types of glue or adhesive can actually break down the foam and not do its job and damage the foam. So that's why I use the foam board. Then I got red sheathing tape. So typically used for like house wrap or the sheeting that has the house wrap built onto it. Can't remember what they call it. It's green. Battery for the saw. I'm also going to use a chalk line and sawhorses and a tape measure and a pencil. I have not ever done this before, so we'll see how it goes. I've actually never even watched like an instructional video on how to do it. I just kind of have an idea in my head of how it's supposed to go. I'm going to use the roller to press the tape on. And I have my great stuff, gaps and cracks. Expands up to 1 inch. Doesn't take a lot. All right. So I was thinking, how is this foam gonna stick up against the wall, even temporarily, while the glue sets up or cures? And I think the answer is that the glue is gonna be the temporary adhesion while it cures. It says to make sure surface is clean and free of foreign materials. Cut nozzles to desired bead size and apply. So I think this will kind of hold it there, but this is a concrete foundation, and I use concrete forms obviously, so you can see here that on this portion of the wall, I used a combination of different forms. So I don't know, the wall is actually pretty straight, but I want to make good contact everywhere. Let's see, the middle of the wall here kind of buckles in towards me just a hair. If I put the foam board on, it's going to make contact here, but it's going to be hard to keep the contact on the bottom and the top. So rather than put the foam vertical, I was thinking, well, why don't I just lay the foam down like this? So then it makes good contact on the bottom portion and the top portion. I'll do that, and then I'll put the next one on, and then the last one on the top It's just going to be, well, this is a 9-foot wall. These are 4x8 sheets, so the one up top is going to be like a 12-inch piece. So I think this is how I'm going to do it. See how it goes? I use the combination of stripes and dots. Let's see how it works. Seems pretty good. So with my vast experience with this material, I've learned that I don't need a sweatshirt. Because it's warm, especially when it's 65 degrees and you have a long sleeve shirt on underneath. You do need a hat to keep your pencil in. And don't need that much glue. 2 foot on center, a couple 3 or 4 in a row. So along the bottom of the foam, like especially here, the floor is pretty level. And I won't be able to like really use spray foam on the bottom, but I do want to seal. So what I'm gonna do is just use I'm more so worried about an air seal at that point, and I can just use a bead of silicone wherever there's not a big enough gap to actually use spray foam. The reason why I don't want airflow is because if the warm air in the house meets the cool air from the concrete wall, then it can cause condensation. It can cause condensation and be a slight moisture problem. So not a huge deal, but it's such a, it's going to be 4 feet underground, or 4 to 8 feet underground, depends on where the wall you're at. So is it that important? If you want to be really thorough, it's very important. I've learned. Tape, leave an end, make a friend. Second thing, you just score the foam board with your pencil, leaves a mark. Circular saw. You set the depth to just less than the thickness of the foam board. That way you're not worried about cutting through your sawhorses, and it's just zip, 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 and it snaps easily. This glue, it holds the foam board to the wall pretty well. Rather than put the glue on the foam board, it's nice to put on the wall because you can visualize the high spots and put dollops of glue appropriately. From here on out, I'm going to put spacers underneath the bottom. I want to have a good seal on the bottom, so I want to be able to stick that straw from the spray foam can underneath there and put a small bead of spray foam that'll expand. So I'm going to use just scrap material. This is 1/4 inch, so at least a 1/4 inch spacer underneath. And then I can come back later and spray foam that. Around the windows, I had these spacers in there for when I poured the concrete, when the concrete wouldn't leak around the window frames, because these window frames are 7 1/4 inches, whereas the thickness of my concrete wall is 8 inches. So these were just in there as, like I said, spacers. So now I have 1.5 inch space around the window that I can take spray foam and again seal that up as well. Obviously I'm not done yet, I need to do a pie. But I'm going to run the foam all the way up to the floor joists. So there will be a little, I just want to be thorough with my installation of the foam board. I'm going to use that 2-inch foam board up in the cavities up there. I'm going to cut squares out of the 2-inch foam board and put up in those cavities on the outside of the cavity up against the rim joist. So I have foam there, and then this foam's going to run up to the bottom of the floor joist. So I have a pretty good barrier for thermal bridging and air leakage and things of that nature. So cavities, I'm gonna do a little bit smaller than the cavity size, that way it slips in there easily. Like I said, I'm gonna spray foam all 4 edges of each cavity. 14¼ by 9 inches. The rim joist, which is the board running this way on the outside of the wall, rests on top of this green treated board. If it's not perfectly straight, then there is an air gap and you can see it there. So this will insulate it. Then when I put spray foam, I'll put a heavy bead of spray foam along the bottom here and the top and the 2 sides, and it will effectively seal this space from inside the house. Morning. Today I'm here with myself. I left my sweatshirt here overnight and it's really cold because I put it on and it's cold. First thing I'm going to be doing is working on continuing this pink board insulation wall all the way through the back concrete wall. So what I'm going to be working on, it's same as yesterday morning, actually yesterday afternoon, because I went to Menards in the morning. So in here I have to cut individual pieces to go between the studs, and I'm gonna be using a 2.5 inch insulation for those spaces. And then these ones I'm just gluing the board, 1.5 inch foam board to the wall, because I can frame a wall in front of it and put an additional R11 or R13 batt fiberglass insulation. So I left and now I've came back with this Bluetooth speaker. Job site Bluetooth speaker. It's $99 the way I see it, but it was 40% off, so I bought it. And I bought this roof and foundation coating. I'll show you why. And I bought a 4 1/8 inch hole saw for drilling my bathroom and dryer vent ductwork holes through the walls and floors and such. A $6 brush and a 7/8 inch auger bit. So what I have here is the cap to that foundation and roof coating stuff. If you touch this, you will drop dead. It is very volatile. Actually, it's just really sticky and I don't want to get it all over my hands because it'll be on my hands and on the stuff I touch all day. So what I'm doing is when the foundation wall dried, concrete has a tendency to crack. So I have 2 cracks in the foundation. I did put this kind of a material on the outside of the foundation to seal the foundation, which is good. But I'm also, just as a $20 precaution, I'm gonna put it on the inside on those cracks also. I don't expect to have any issues with it or anything. Like I said, all concrete cracks. It's not good to see it in the foundation, but I had someone here who works for the leading foundation repair and maintenance company in the area, and he said he wouldn't be worried about it. I can put this stuff on the foundation if I want to. So I'm just doing it because I want to. It's $20 and some time, so that's what I'm doing. Wall number 1 is done. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the other crack, do the same thing, and then just hop outside and double check and make sure I got a nice layer of the foundation coating on the opposite side of these crack areas. That's it for in here. I'm just gonna go outside and double check, then I'll move on to foam board. Most of the bigger with the thick styrofoam. I have most of the bigger walls done that I'm gonna do. I'm just working on patching pieces here and there. So I have a piece in the rim joist I put here, and then this last piece is gonna finish off this section. Like that. I think I'm going to, I need to connect the gas line to that U-for there, and then I can put a piece of styrofoam up in that cavity. I have some extra of the large foam, so I'm gonna use that in here and put it on the back wall, and then 2 foot out on this wall. And then I'll revert back to the 1.5" foam. I cut too many of these pieces, so I do need, I think, 2 of them to fill in the spaces above. Speaking of which, I have 2 left, so never mind. That works great. And then I decided, since I have lots of these kind of pieces left over, they're like 4.5 to 5" pieces. I'm gonna set them, cut them again to wall cavity size and set them on top of the foundation wall, on top of that sill plate. Leftover pieces that I cut into 14 1/4 inches that I'm going to put up here. You see I already have my foam back here, that's 2.5 inch foam out there. These on top of the wall like that. When I spray foam to seal, up that edge, across the top of that piece, up the rim joist, across the top, and do the stair step down the other side, and then I'll seal on top of here with spray foam, and then on top of there with spray foam. So I will effectively have a good seal, full envelope of styrofoam insulation on the top of and on the inside of the foundation wall. So I'm gonna do that same thing all along the whole foundation wall. Of course, it would have been nicer had this piece been long enough to extend out on top of the foam, but like I said, I can spray foam that seam there, and these were just leftover pieces that happen to work perfect, and I have enough to do the rest of the wall. All right, I'm done with all the rim joist and sill plate. I haven't done the spray foam yet, but I'll do that when I'm all done with everything. So all I have left is running the 1.5" styrofoam in this room, and then I have 3 sheets of the, or 2 2/3 sheets of the 2.5 inch to use. So I'll use that on this wall and this wall, and then around the corner of the dining room I need 3 sheets of 1.5" again. So. So I finished installing the foam. Like I said before, I need spray foam everywhere. The idea is to seal any air, so any cracks and gaps between the concrete wall and the house. I'll do that when the time comes. Right now I'm gonna change gears a little bit and pick up a touch, and then go upstairs and frame a couple closets and remove a wall. Kind of getting ready for my brother showing up to do some more setting boxes and switches. So I'll kind of do a pass of the wall for you. It's kind of a mess down here, but that's to be expected, I suppose. So this is the dining room wall, and then in here we have the storage room. I did a couple different thicknesses of foam just to use my resources to the best of my ability. So up here we have the 2.5 inch, and it comes down here as well. But then down here is just 1.5 inches. Yeah, I figured frost is 42 inches, which with 6 inches exposed of the concrete wall exposed above ground would be about down this far, so I do have that thicker insulation to the depth of the frost. Then this is the nursery wall. Nothing special there. And we saw the bathroom with all the cavities filled up. And then we have the master bedroom wall. So it took a lot longer than I thought it would, but you know what? There's a lot of pieces, a lot of parts and pieces, so no surprise there. Yeah,